This is Thailand, a prosperous, vibrant country situated in one of the most highly industrialized clusters of nations. We often quote about the importance of ASEAN in our videos, and just to remind you all, Thailand is also a member of ASEAN, which is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Thailand's economic development can be considered one of the most significant success stories in Southeast Asia. Over the past 30 years, the Thai economy has experienced continuous growth, which has contributed to a decline in the poverty rate by over 55%. Although economic growth has slowed slightly in recent years, forecasts for the land of smiles remain positive. The IMF forecasts strong growth for the Thai economy after recovering from the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. Thailand is a true tourism hotspot. The tourism sector accounts for about 15% of the country's gross domestic product, with a good 1 in 6 people working in the tourism sector. However, other industries also play a key role. Agriculture contributes over 8% to Thailand's GDP, while manufacturing contributes a substantial 35%. As in countries around the world, Thailand's population and economy have been significantly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. The country's gross domestic product shrunk 6.7% in 2020 as tourism and exports of goods are hit particularly hard by the pandemic. To cushion the impact of the pandemic on the economy, the Thai government spent almost 100 million euros on a comprehensive financial package. Some fast facts about this amazing country are that it has a massive GDP of $500 billion, with a per capita GDP of almost $7,000. It is highly export-orientated economy with financial year 2017 exports totaling $237 billion. So let's dive into some history of this country, in order to get a wider view of the Thai economy. Thailand is one of the few countries that have avoided direct colonial rule throughout their history. This is a big feat for them as Thailand, known as Siem back then, was completely surrounded by either the British or French colonies. After the opening of the Suez Canal in 1869, Thai exports of rice increased fivefold due to strong demand from Europe particularly. Rice dominated the Thai exports, comprising 1/3 of the total exports figure. So, Thailand continued to function as a low-income agriculture-based country, until the World War II changed the dynamics of international trade. Let's focus on how the Thai economy grew, surpassing expectations. By early 1950s the country was still agriculture-reliant, particularly rice. The Thai government started to focus on import substitution. Thailand became an export-orientated economy with the help of comparative advantage that it enjoyed at particular instances due to small domestic market and cheap labor. Thailand has been a development success story, with sustained growth and impressive poverty reduction, particularly in the 1980s, when gross domestic product grew 7.8% a year on average, which was the second highest among comparators after the Republic of Korea. However, this high growth momentum was interrupted by the Asian financial crisis of 1997. The catastrophe began as a currency crisis when Bangkok unpegged the Thai baht from the US dollar, setting off a series of currency devaluations and massive flights of capital. If you would like to know more about the Asian financial crisis, then please check out our video on the economy of Malaysia. It certainly covers this in much more detail. After the crisis, the situation was reversed, and from 1998 onward, Thailand had a very large saving investment surplus every year, averaging almost 14.5% of GDP annually between 1998 and 2008. An intersectoral shift from agriculture to industry occurred, with services retaining an important role. The economic shocks and consequently more moderate growth of the past 15 years have not impeded this long-term secular trend. But the transformation into a fully industrialized economy is far from complete. The industry sector expanded rapidly in the past several decades, accounting for 42% of GDP in 2014, from 30% in the early 1980s. Over the same period, agriculture's share of output has fallen significantly, from about 25% to just over 12%. Thailand's sectoral shares are broadly similar to those of other large developing economies in Southeast Asia, notably Malaysia and Vietnam. So that's all for the history. Let's now discuss the current recent state of Thai economy. Most people have associated Thailand with a large tourist wonderland. But Thailand is certainly much more than just that. Thailand's economy relies on various significant industries. The automotive industry is the country's second largest export industry. As of the first quarter of 2021, the imports of automobiles and parts showed a promising figure of approximately $4 billion. This automotive industry also accounts for about 10% of the GDP. Though growth has trended downwards for the Thai economy in recent years, even before the pandemic, the income have continued to increase. However, the low growth rates might also be sign of slowed productivity, as seen in Malaysia. The low productivity may occur due to the low literacy rates in the country. Less than 50% of the population has proper schooling, hence these factors contribute to low skilled employment figures, which in turn generate low growth. Another reason for this might be low foreign direct investment. FDI is very important for the country to develop and grow. Its role is crucial, as the bulk of FDI is oriented toward higher value-added manufacturing. The investment rate has averaged more than 26% over the past decade, down sharply from 41% of GDP in the high-growth period in the 1990s prior to the Asian financial crisis. Total investment has not regained its pre-crisis level in absolute terms. The slowing of foreign direct investment and the fall in high-technology exports is a concern for the sustainability of growth. Outward FDI by Thai companies to neighboring ASEAN economies has increased sharply in recent years, reflecting the shortage of operational machinery and skilled labor in Thailand. Another reason for the low FDI may be political instability. Thailand is ranked 142nd in the World Bank's Political Stability Index, just above Russia. It has had over 13 coups in about 80 years, the most in any country. It is also ranked a shameful 101 in the Corruption-Related Transparency International Index. So overall, Thailand has done a lot of effort to transition from a small agricultural economy to a fairly industrialized country. In order to become a high-income status country, they need to focus on some main points. Notably, they should raise education expenditure to at least 5% of GDP and review the education budget for its efficiency, raise R&D spending, facilitate technology transfer through FDI, increase the availability of and access to high-level vocational education and training, allow greater competition in the services sectors, level the playing field between private and state-owned enterprises, and ensure the latter do not have unfair advantages, and improve investor protection. A modern economy also requires greater infrastructure, and in order to develop that they need to plan and structure infrastructure investment to ensure intermodal connectivity, facilitate the greater use of public-private partnerships for funding issues, and finalize and implement the infrastructure master plan and provide implementation guidelines. It is a very difficult task to cram all the information about a country's economic history, present state and future projections in video. But we did try our best to serve you with the most extensive and quality video on this topic. We hope that you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like to appreciate our efforts, and comment down your suggestions. Do subscribe before leaving. Till then, goodbye.